Hi there, my name's Lee Penner and I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. I've been privately tutoring. I'm in my third year of studies at the University of Cape Town, and I've been privately tutoring for about 3 years now, and I found such enjoyment in it. I think that if you are able to understand the complexity of a topic, you're able to explain it in a simplistic way. So that's what I've chosen to do here. I've just completed a course in advanced micro and macroeconomics, and I'm going to explain one of the most crucial topics in microeconomics of average product, marginal product, and total product. So here we go. Okay. So first I'm going to start with an important understanding of economic theory. So we have two time periods in economics. We have the short run and we have the long run. So in the short run, the most important thing to note is that one factor of production is constant, is stable, you can't change it. So usually in the short run it's capital. So you've decided to buy a factory. Now in the short run, you cannot change that factory. You can't buy any more factories. You're stuck with the factory that you have. The only thing you can do if you want to increase your output is to hire more workers, which is increasing your labor. So in order to increase your output, you need to hire more labor. So that's the only thing you can do because you're stuck in the factory that you have. You can hire more people to work in the factory, but you're in the factory. Now in the long run, all factors of production are variable. You can buy more factories, you can hire more workers. So that's why in the long run, you can increase your output by much greater than you can in the short run. So that's a very important thing to remember. Short run, constant capital. Long run, nothing is constant, everything, all the factors of production, labor, capital, everything is variable. So now I'm going to explain to you three important production concepts. So firstly, we have total product, we have average product, and we have marginal product. So before I go down to writing things down and explaining the concepts to you, I want you to try and understand it. So total product, okay, that is the total output that is produced given a fixed labor force. So basically that is all the output a factory can produce. So if you want to increase your output, you need to increase your labor. So that is why I will show you in a moment your total product graph. The total product graph increases as your workers increase. Now we have average product. So average product is your total product divided by how many workers you have working in your factory. So it is how productive each worker is. The more output attributable to each worker, the more productive they are. So you'll take all the output that you have and you'll divide it by your entire labor force that are working for you. Okay, so that is average product. Now marginal product is a confusing concept, I must admit, but I want you to bear with me. So marginal product is how much my total product will increase if I hire one more worker. Marginal means incremental difference, so it's if I hire one more worker. So basically it is the change in total product over the change in labor. So this concept comes into play with diminishing marginal returns. So marginal product, think about it. It's if I increase my labor, my worker, if I hire one more worker, how much will my total product increase? Okay? Diminishing marginal returns means in the beginning, your marginal product increases greatly. So I hire one more worker, they're so productive, my factory's doing great. But as I hire more and more workers, it becomes too many people in my factory, it's too claustrophobic. You can't just keep on hiring. There's a certain point of marginal product that's the peak, it's the maximum, it's the most optimal amount. So that's what we're going to work out. So now I'm going to explain those three concepts, which is total, which is all your output, average, which is all your output divided by each worker, so it's how productive every worker is, and then it's marginal, it's if I add one more worker, how much does my total product increase by? So I'm going to explain those three concepts in a practical example that you'll be able to relate to. So here we go. Okay, firstly we're going to start with total product, average product, and marginal product. As we discussed before, total product is the only way to increase total product is to increase the labor amount that you've hired. So in order to increase total product, you would need to increase your labor. This can be shown in the graph below. So on your x-axis we have labor, and on your y-axis we have output. Now the shape of the graph goes like this. So as you increase your labor, your output will increase. For example, if you hire 2 units of labor, you will produce 5 units of output. But if you hire, for instance, going through there, 10 units of labor, you will produce approximately 20 units of output. Now the gradient is also something we need to consider. As you can see, initially it's quite steep, the gradient, and the gradient becomes more shallow. So initially, the first few workers that you hire are greatly beneficial to your company. They increase your total product more than the last workers that you hire. Okay, now we're moving on to average product. Now, as we said before, average product is equal to total product divided by labor. This is how productive each worker is for your company. How much total product is attributable to each worker. Now, marginal product, I'm just writing down all the formulas and then I'll give you an example. So marginal product is the change in total product divided by the change in labor. So this is by hiring 1 more worker, how much does my total product improve by? Now I'm going to give you an example. Say, for example, you write 3 tests in a term. Test 1, test 2, and test 3. For your first test, you get 70%. For your second test, you get 65%. And for your third test, you get 50%. Now, I'm going to change total product, average product, and marginal product to total mark, average mark, and marginal mark. The relationship is exactly the same, but it's just more easier to understand. Okay, so we're starting with total mark. TM, total mark. So my total mark is 70%, 70 here. Now my total mark here would be the 70 plus my 65 that I've gained in test 2. So it would be 135. And over here my total mark would be 70 plus 65 plus 50. So there we've got 185. Now we're moving on to our marginal mark. That is the change in mark because we wrote another test. So in terms of labor, it's the change in output attributable to hiring 1 more worker is the same in this example. It's the change in your total mark because we wrote 1 more test. So over here it would be 70. And over here we added 65 marks because we wrote another test. So by writing another test, 65 marks were gained. And by writing 1 more test, 50 marks were gained. Now the last relationship is very important. This is average mark. This would be like you would work out your mean or median, just your mean in data. For your average mark, here's 70. Now for test 2, we would add 70 plus 65 and then divide it by 2. So it's 67.5. And then your last one, you would add 70 plus 65 plus 50 divided by 3, which is 61.67. Now, what's very important to understand is the relationship between these two. Your marginal mark affects your average mark. So as you can see, originally you got 70% average. Now, because for your second test you got 65%, which was lower than your average has decreased. It's brought down your average to 67%. And then for your third test, you got 50%, which decreased your average even more, and your average is now 61%. So now this graph I would like to show you on the next page is the most important one you need to know for this section. Over here, we have quantity of labor, and on our y-axis we have output. The graph looks like this. This is marginal product, and over here we have average product. So I'm going to split it into 2 almost sections for you to understand. Now on this side of the graph, you can see your marginal product is above your average product. So this is saying each next test you're getting is greater than your average. So for example, over here, your next result you got for your test is 80%. But your average mark in this situation is only
50%. So because your next test is greater than your average is increasing, as you can see over here. Now don't get confused between the decrease in the marginal product. If you had, for example, gotten 90% for your test over here, it is still greater than your average of, trying to keep this numerical order, in 60%. But if you got your marginal product is now decreased, so you didn't get 90%, you didn't do as well, but you still got 80%, example here, sorry, I'm trying to keep this in line, then it is still above your average mark or product of 70%. So what we need to know is on this side of the graph, our marginal product is above our average product, so it's causing our average product to increase. And on this side of the graph, our marginal product, which means our next test result, is lower than our average. So say for instance our average is 60 and then our next test we got 50%, which decreases our average. So on this side our marginal product is less, which decreases our average. So what we need to know is, this is the most crucial point on the graph where these two intersect. Marginal product intersects average product at average product's peak section, and this might be asked in an exam, so you need to understand this relationship. Thank you.